Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, having me over. Thank you, Yashas, for having me here for the second time. When we talk about the media coverage, there's one very glaring example of coverage which came to me is when Burhan Wani was killed in Jammu and Kashmir. There were certain media outlets who wrote that Burhan Wani, the son of a poor headmaster. Now, that itself is like, trivializing the entire subject. That's not the point, of having, it's not whether he was a headmaster's son or, he was an IPS officer's son. That does not make the difference. You're trying to trivialize the news at that time. The story has to absolutely be told. Thing is, I don't know how many bullets Burhan Wani must have shot, but he did managed to radicalize a large number of youth in Jammu Kashmir by putting up those videos. So this is where our problem begins. And now coming to the other part of it is that, the thing is, what has happened is everyone over a long period of time, would talk about, radicalization and terrorism in a different context. They're very, very interconnected. Like what we see today is an extreme amount of radicalization that has happened, thanks to the social media, etc. So these are stories like, we are asked at times in the media that aren't you all glorifying these people or not? I would say no. I think the story has to be put out. You need to know what they are doing there. That is one. And the other point in which Lieutenant General pointed out, and the thing is in Kerala, we've been very, very successful in, handling this problem of radicalization to a large extent because the issue is that everybody started shifting, focus towards Kerala very late. I've been writing these stories since 2008, and then there have been times when I was told that, what are you trying to even write? Is there a problem like this? I know of a lot of intelligence officers who told me that we have been trying to point out these problems from the 1990s, but there was no political support. And if at all you go and report these issues of radicalization, backed by political outfits out there, there's a greater chance of you getting tripped over. Okay, so obviously it did not cover up. And I thought the media was very, very slow to catch on to this big problem of radicalization when these Wahhabis came in large numbers. They were funding. The mosques started looking very different out there. It was just not catching on. And that was a typical classical textbook operation, keep the radicalization alive there and let the terror attacks happen everywhere. Indian Mujahideen was born in Kerala. Indian Mujahideen carries out strikes across, but, they take shelter in Kerala. So this is one thing, which they have been extremely, extremely slow to grasp. And a large part of the media, I would say, let me not accuse everybody, a large part of them were in absolute complete denial about this fact that there could be any problem of radicalization in Kerala. For a long time, Kerala just got away with this thing about it being, 100% literate state and, God's own country, etc. And the problem which is happening. In fact, there was one copy, they were doing target practice on dogs outside a mosque out there. I thought that required much bigger coverage. And today, when we see these protests happening at the drop of a hat and, this kind of killings which are happening, in the case of Kanhaiya Lal or, Umesh Kole and, Praveen Nettare in this one, it is a clear sign of the problem which has, kept happening. And the years and years that the media has been absolutely denying the very existence of, these things. And also another thing I have noticed today, just before I came on the show, I was just writing about the investigation of what is happening in the Praveen Nettare case. While there was a revenge aspect to it, there is also something in causing, absolute terror in the minds of the majority community out here. So what happens is, as a media person, when you cover, you need to get all these murders which have happened. It's happened in Punjab. The Khalistan elements have targeted a lot of these Hindu leaders there. It happened in Udaipur. Now it's happened in Maharashtra. It has been happening in Karnataka. It has been happening in Tamil Nadu. It has been happening in Kerala. You need to bring out stories, which absolutely connect the dots and, make sense out of it. You cannot, as a media person, while covering that incident as a reporter is absolutely necessary, but there is also a need to join the dots and then, absolutely tell the story that this is a part of a larger problem. There's only one motive behind this, keep the majority community under threat. So, and the ignoring by the media for years and years of this problem, Kerala was a story should have been told 20, 25 years back, actually. Years and years, we kept our focus only on certain places. The problem is very, very immense in Maharashtra. In fact, when the Umesh Kole murder happened, I mean, they just, this one, what is that? They just passed it off as an attempt to robbery or something like that. And nobody bothered to check that the cash was still lying out there. So, when this kind of dishonest kind of reporting keeps happening, it just gives, a complete lot of fodder for these people that, people have kept them away from the discourse and narrative. So very quietly, they can go about doing these things. The media has to connect the dots in every incident because each one is interlinked. The thing is, we got down to very specifics, one Lashkar-e-Taiba model, one Hizbul Mujahideen. It doesn't work that way anymore. It is just, everything is passed on the internet. And that is when this issue of lone wolf terrorism, somebody gets a fatwa, somebody passes a WhatsApp message, and some innocent gets killed. So then in terms of media also, the thing is, when Sir was talking earlier, he spoke about an absolutely wonderful operation that our IB had carried out called as Operation Chakravyuha at that time. Okay. It was basically like, posing as, one among them. And we did control the problem to a large extent. At that time, there were many who were, planned to go. In fact, when that whole ISIS thing started off in 2013-14, there were many more who could have gone. There were people, posing in Tamil Nadu with the T-shirts of the ISIS. And the first case, Haja Fakhruddin, reported from Tamil Nadu. So these are things I think at that time, each small incident which happens should be told louder by the media, and we should not trivialize this coverage. And, see, there's no human interest to these people. That is one thing I would say. Yeah, we have the courts, let them take the final decision on whether they're innocent or not. But this is what has happened. Now, post the Udaipur murder case, they were so blatant in putting out the video and they claimed responsibility. And, it was so blatant. So I don't know sometimes what we in the media should do, to sit and think about their human rights and things like that. I think we need to be more and more aggressive about these, about these kind of incidents. We have to absolutely cover the dots. Connect the dots. I'm sorry. We have to connect the dots because these are not isolated incidents anymore. There's nothing like, even a lone wolf attack, if you say it happens in one city and it happens in another, it may be two very isolated incidents, but the ideology is very much connected. So these are problems. And in Kerala, if I look at it, there was this outfit called as a base movement. Now, I know these are all, names for the Al-Qaeda or ISIS and things like that. That's why recently the MHA said, don't, give them thing. They use different names, so that, there is that deniability, like Resistance Front. That is very much Lashkar-e-Taiba itself. One. So, base movement was there. What was the whole thing, the whole idea of the base movement? Base movement's idea was to sit and target judges. Sit and target judges, lawyers, policemen. Then I again go to the Ramalingam murder, which happened in Tamil Nadu. There was a conversion which they were trying to stop. And so this guy gets murdered. So what is the message they're putting out? And it is just passed off for a long, long, long time as, as some kind of a normal, a murder which has happened due to vengeance or revenge and things like that. And that is why I feel media coverage needs to be a little louder and a little more, direct about such things, because, they also need to have this feeling that someone is watching over them and they're not getting, any kind of this one, because they have started becoming louder. So I guess even we need to be very, very louder. And now coming back to Operation Chakravyuha, this is the confusion which I have. When we had first time written the story is, the thing is, I wouldn't be able to give an answer out here because was it necessary for you all to cover that story in the first place? You're letting out an operational, secret or something. But the story was covered when that operation was clearly over at that time and they were going to move out. But I sometimes on a personal level also feel that, this also should be, told out. That is one thing. See, our intelligence people, they're also human beings at the end of it. They also do need they are always, at the back. Nobody knows their face and things like that. So something very successful when, they carry out and things like that. And this, even I think these people, who are sitting and, thinking that they'll get away with everything on the social media, there should be that sense of fear that they are watched. And that is where the media's role will also come. While we need to put it out, we also need to, the thing is like, there's always this thing, let's give you the story, but you should know when to stand back. So that is, what it is. And I've also noticed one thing when it comes to the coverage of the media. The problem in South India, I'm not saying this because I'm from South India, but I'm saying this because this is an immense problem. It's a very, very silent problem which has been going on over the years. the focus has always been, on UP or Bihar and, that kind of thing. But what is happening here is much more dangerous. They are able to put out an ideology. They put out an ideology out here, and it is, traveling across the country because they seem to be calling the shots today on the social media, all that. And that is clearly because, continuously, be it the police there or the political system, just completely ignoring the issue for years and years. And that is what has given them a lot of, I would say a lot of hope that they could do everything and get away with it. And I think being in the media, I think we have to be, more, prudent in this. We are not going to sit and romanticize their issues. Like, when I started off, I said Burhan Wani story is not what his father was. That may be a story with, the fifth story when you're writing his profile, but not to start off with, this guy was the son of a poor headmaster. That was a joke, according to me. I just absolutely, you could understand that this is being extremely dishonest. You're trying to trivialize an issue. Okay. So there, as media personnel, I think we have a greater responsibility. What we get to see is not, it's not something, I wouldn't feel safe. This is textbook what happened with the Kashmiri Pandits, even they continue to target them today. The whole idea was to drive the fear and, be the more dominant force out there. So let's try and understand. The thing is, they will always, try to bring it under the realm of saying something like this is a majority versus minority problem. It's not all that. At the drop of the hat, there is violence. Anti-CA protests, there is violence. It all turns in a day. If you see what happened in Bangalore, it went beyond what the protest was. It was just, becoming a little meaningless after some time. Just the, target, break down things and things like that. So we need to put out the story right. I'm saying that is most important. And if the story is not presented right, and as I said, there is one small thing, that we were taught very early in our days of journalism, which sometimes I feel is very concerning. As I said, when you see an Umesh Kole murder, or when you see a Kanhaiya Lal murder and the Praveen Natarajan, you have to absolutely connect the dots, because you need to tell the larger picture in that what is happening. And if you look at them as isolated incidents, they will just look like incidents of murder. This is an ecosystem which is working very, very hard since the past 2 decades. Terror has changed. There was the Indian Mujahideen. Today, they are not those kind of terror attacks. But what is happening today is definitely more dangerous. And it's not only that India is facing the problem, globally this problem is being faced. And I think, in our own interest and in our own security, and, being a media person, I would say this is that threats are there, there are people who will try to trip you down, etc. But it is very, very important that, absolutely do our old style of journalism where we chase down files, pull out the investigating reports, court orders, connect the dots, and look at the larger picture of everything and not treat these incidents as isolated ones. And let's be very, very honest about what we do. We are not gaining anything personally out here, but in the interest. Because at the end of it, Kanhaiya Lal dying or Umesh Kole dying, at the end of it, it has become headlines. But it is their family who go through it at the end of it. And I think whatever little we can do to protect them and out these people without, looking at the politics of it or, looking at, appeasement and things like that, I think that should be the media's role, while covering this horrible problem of Islamic radicalization and terrorism. I would conclude there. As you know, Yashas, I speak very less. Okay, man. Thank you.